Assalamu alaikum. Let's start off our presentations with the name of Allah, who is the ever merciful and Lord of all there is. Good morning, everyone. I am Shehryar Hammad, a practitioner of the project management principles. Me and my group will be delivering an expert review on the project management tool Nifty. I myself will be examining Nifty from a portfolio and program management perspective, specifically how its workspace architecture align with organizational governance framework and the system for value delivery. Let me start with workspaces. In Nifty, a workspace functions as your highest level organizational container, essentially your portfolio or program boundary. From a PMBOK 7 performance domains perspective, this directly supports the stakeholders' performance domains by establishing clean governance structure. What's critical here is understanding that Nifty's workspace model embodies the governance performance domains of PMBOK 7. However, PMBOK 8 now treats governance as a distinct process-driven performance domains with 40 processes organized under 7 domains. In Nifty workspace, level governance manifests through permission structures, workspace owners, admins, members, and guests. And this is your organizational governance framework in action, defining decision rights, accountability structures, and compliance boundaries. Now let's talk about the stewardship principle. When you configure workspace permissions, you are acting as diligent, respectful, and caring steward. One of PMBOK 7-12 principles. You are determining who has visibility into strategic initiatives, who can modify program level artifacts, and who maintains read-only stakeholder access. This directly supports both organizational and project governance by ensuring appropriate oversight without compromising operational security. Nifty allows you to set multiple workspaces within a single organizational account. Each workspace becomes a value stream, and collectively they form your organizational portfolio managed as a group to achieve strategic objectives. Let's connect this PMBOK 8 shifts. PMBOK 8 has condensed the 12 principles from PMBOK 7 into 6 more holistic principles, where PMBOK 7 separated stewardship, stakeholders, and governance as distinct principles. PMBOK 8 now consolidate these under be an accountable leader and adopt a holistic view. This actually makes Nifty's workspace model more relevant, because when you are configuring workspace governance, you are simultaneously being an accountable leader by establishing clear decision frameworks and adopting a holistic view by considering how workspace boundaries affect across functional, collaborational, and value delivery across your portfolio. From a project work performance domain perspective, workspace enable you to link related projects, creating transparency across program dependencies, and this is system thinking in practice, recognizing that projects don't exist in isolation but as interconnected components with our value delivery systems. Nifty's workspace model is relatively at compared to enterprise PM tools. You don't get native multi-level portfolio hierarchies. What you do get is a clean organizational boundary with solid permissions, controls, and the ability to set custom dashboards that aggregate matrices across multiple projects within that workspace. The workspace also serves as your artifacts repository boundary. Documents uploaded to workspace level all become part of your organizational process assets. This supports the planning performance domains by ensuring consistency when you define a standard risk response planning template at workspace level. Every project within the workspace inherits it, promoting standardizations while it still allowing project level tailoring. Now integration is another consideration. Nifty's workspace can connect to external systems, Slack for communications, Google Drive for documentations, GitHub for development. From a systems thinking principle, this positions your workspace as a hub within your broader organizational ecosystem, not an isolated silo. You are integrating your project management system with your development operations and business functions, which is precisely what the new PMBOK 8 emphasizes with the focus on holistic integrations. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite my fellow member, Hammad, to explain the work breakdown structure, scope management, and lists in Nifty.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is Hammad bin Iftikhar and I am here to talk about work breakdown structure, scope management and tasks. In project management, WBS is our main scope planning artifact. It's a hierarchical decomposition of total project scope into manageable work packages, and it must satisfy the 100% rule with no omissions and no duplications. Understanding how Nifty implements this is critical for maintaining scope integrity. In Nifty, your project represents your level 0 deliverables. When you create a project called, for example, Enterprise CRM implementation, the project entity defines total scope. This is your product scope plus project scope combined. This feature, functions, and quality attributes of the CRM system plus all the work required to implement it. Now within that project, Nifty provides lists. Lists are your level 1 decomposition. Think of them as measured deliverable or project phases. By default, Nifty might give you generic list like to do and complete it, but that's inadequate for rigorous scope management. You must tailor your list to reflect your actual scope structure. For a software development project, you might create this for requirement analysis, system design requirement, testing and deployment. Each list represents a significant work package or a phase within your project life cycle. This is where the development approach and the life cycle performance domain from PMBOK 7 come into play. If you are using a predictive approach, your list aligns with sequential patterns. If you are using an adaptive approach, for example, Scrum, for instance, your list might represent a product backlog, sprint backlog, in progress, and done. The point is, list must be concisely structured to support your chosen life cycle, not just accepted as is form from the tool's default in Nifty. Within each list, you create tasks. Tasks are your work packages, the lowest level of the work breakdown structure that can be assigned, tracked, and measured. Each task should be outcome oriented, focusing on deliverable, not activities. The task name describes the deliverable. Nifty also supports subtasks, giving you one more level of decomposition. If your main task is database schema design, subtasks might include entity relation modeling like this normalization, review, or schema documentation. This allows you to break down complex work packages without cluttering your main task box, maintaining clarity while preserving detail. Now let's talk about the 100% rule. In Nifty, enforcing this requires discipline, but the tool doesn't automatically validate scope completion. You must manually ensure that all tasks collectively represent 100% of project scope with no gaps and no overlaps. If your charter specifies 6 major deliverables, you must have 6 lists, each containing all tasks necessary to maintain that deliverable. If a task could logically belong to multiple lists, you have got an ambiguity in your project scope definition. Either refine the task or make the clear list structure. One technique I would recommend: use Nifty timeline to view the milestone to validate scope completeness. Set milestone for each major deliverable completion. Then trace backward from each milestone to ensure all prerequisite tasks exist in your lists. If you have gotten a milestone for a CMRM go live but no task for user training or data migration, you have violated the 100% rule. Your scope decomposition is still incomplete. Let's connect this to PM Book 8. PM Book 8 has reintroduced processes, 40 processes across 7 performance domains. The old scope management knowledge area is how the scope performance domain. When you have structured list and task in Nifty, you are executing create VBS defined scope processes. You are reviewing tasks with stakeholders using Nifty discussion feature. You are performing a validate scope principle as your PM Book 7 as or processes according to PM Book 8. Product scope versus project scope versus product scope. These distinctions matter. In Nifty, you might maintain a clear product feature or board that captures product scope. Every feature, function, or quality attribute the deliverable must possess. Then your main project board represent the project scope. All the work required to deliver those features. You can use Nifty board linking feature to connect these. Now one limitation is acknowledged. Nifty doesn't provide native work breakdown structure coding. In enterprise environment, you would assign hierarchical code like 1, 3, 2, 4, something like that to each work packages for precise identification and cost rollup. Nifty uses task IDs which are sequential, not hierarchical. In both PM Book 7 and 8, the RBS is derived from WBS. Nifty supports this throughout the task assignees. When you assign team members to tasks, you are essentially creating an implicit RBS. However, Nifty doesn't aggregate resource loading across tasks automatically. If you need a formal resource breakdown structure or resource histogram, you would export task data and build that externally, or use Nifty's API to pull assignment data into resource management tool. That's it about work breakdown structure, resource breakdown structure, and scope management. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Hassan Aziz, and I will be discussing the schedule management, resource management, and timeline features. Schedule management is fundamentally concerned with creating, executing, and controlling the project schedule, including the planned dates for performing activities and meeting milestones. In PM Box 7 terms, we are talking about the processes such as plan schedule management, define activities, sequence activities, estimate activity duration, and develop schedule. In Nifty, due dates are your basic scheduling mechanism. When you assign a due date to a task, you are establishing the planned finish date for that work package. But here's the thing. Just adding due dates doesn't constitute schedule management. That's activity dating, not scheduling. True schedule management requires understanding dependencies, identifying the critical path, and calculating float. Let me explain how Nifty supports all this. Nifty provides a timeline view, essentially a Gantt chart representation of your tasks. This is where schedule visualization happens. When you switch to timeline view, you see all tasks plotted against a calendar axis with their duration represented by horizontal bars. The length of each bar corresponds to the duration between task start and due dates. This gives you visual insight into schedule density, potential resource conflicts, and overall project duration. However, Nifty dependency management is relatively basic compared to specialized scheduling tools. You can create dependencies and visualize them, but Nifty doesn't automatically calculate critical path or highlight it with a distinct color. You don't get automated slack calculation for adaptive or hybrid projects where you're balancing predictive scheduling with iterative delivery, Nifty's timeline provides sufficient visibility. Connecting this to the development approach and lifecycle performance domain, if you're running a predictive project, such as a software build for instance, you'd use Nifty's timeline to make a complete schedule baseline with all activities sequenced and dependencies defined. Your critical path would be the backend work first, then the structured framing of the front end, and the proper database record keeping. Any delay in this critical path pushes your handover date. You'd have to monitor this weekly, comparing actual progress against your baseline and therefore calculating the schedule variance yourself. Now let's talk about milestones. In schedule management, milestones are significant points or events. They have zero duration but mark achievement of key deliverables. In Nifty, you can mark tasks as milestones, which displays them distinctly on your timeline. This is valuable for stakeholder communication. By marking these as milestones in Nifty, you make a high-level roadmap that supports the stakeholders' performance domain of PMBOK 7. Now for resource management. The resource performance domain in PMBOK 7 encompasses both team resources, your people, and physical resources such as equipment, materials, and facilities. PMBOK 8, however, maintains this, emphasizing resource estimation, acquisition, and control processes. Nifty's resource management centers on team resources through task assignments. When you assign a team member to a task, you're performing resource allocation and matching work packages to individuals with the requisite skills. But here's where it gets more sophisticated. Nifty provides a workload view. This view aggregates all tasks assigned to each team member and displays their workload distribution over time. If you see someone with 15 tasks due this week, while another team member has 2, you've identified a resource leveling problem. Resource leveling resolves resource over-allocation by adjusting start dates and finish dates within float constraints to balance demand for resources. Nifty's workload view makes over-allocation innately visible, but it doesn't automatically level your schedule. You, as a project manager, must manually reassign tasks or adjust due dates to achieve balance. This requires understanding of float. If a task has 10 days of float, you can delay it by up to 10 days without expecting or impacting the project finish date. But since Nifty doesn't calculate float, you're doing this analysis mentally or externally. This is where responsibility assignment metrics thinking comes in. In formal project management, we make RASI charts for each deliverable. In Nifty, task assignments essentially define the responsible role, but you can use task description and comments to document other roles such as accountable, consult, and informed. This ensures role clarity and supports the team performance domain by defining clear responsibilities. Duration estimation. Now that is a critical scheduling input. How long will each task take? In Nifty, when you set a due date, you're implicitly defining duration based on the span from task creation to the due date. But rigorous duration estimation requires applying techniques such as analogous estimation, parametric estimation, and 3-point estimation. You'd have to perform these estimates externally because Nifty doesn't support such calculations itself, and then input the results inside Nifty. Finally, let's talk about PMBOK 8's emphasis on critical path and schedule optimization. PMBOK 8 reintroduces process focus, including develop schedule as a distinct process with inputs, tools, and outputs. The key tool is critical path method, or CPM, which defines and identifies the longest path through your network diagram. While Nifty doesn't automate the critical path method, you can manually trace your critical path by providing tasks with zero float, those where any delay impact project delivery. You can mark these as high priority in Nifty and then continue to monitor them intensively. That was my take on schedule management. resource management, and timeline features supporting the schedule and resource performance domains of both PMBOK 7 and PMBOK 8. The key to applying such in Nifty is understanding what the tool provides versus what you must supply through manual analysis, and then tailoring your schedule approach to match your own project development methodology. Thank you. Finally, Khalis is here to discuss measurement, dashboards, collaboration, risk, and knowledge management in Nifty.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, I'm Khalis, and for our final segment, let's examine how Nifty supports the measurement performance domain, uncertainty performance domain, and collaborative knowledge management, critical areas for project management like control and continuous improvement. Starting with measurement, the measurement performance domain in PMBOK 7 is about assessing project performance and taking appropriate action to maintain acceptable performance. PMBOK 8 maintains the emphasis no frame with a process-driven approach. Nifty provides dashboard as your measurement hub. Dashboard aggregate project data into visual widgets like charts, graphs, and KPIs, giving you a consolidated view of project health. This is your unvalue reporting mechanism, your status dashboard for steering committees, and your diagnostic tool for identifying performance issue. You can, when you create a dashboard in Nifty, you select data sources, specific projects or workplaces, and then add widgets. Let's walk through key measurement widgets and their PM significance. First, task count by status. This widget shows how many tasks are not started, in progress, in review, and completed. From a measurement perspective, this gives you a crude percent complete metric. Our new task widget. This is your schedule control indicator. Any task past is its due date that's not complete represents negative schedule variance. In unvalued term, you are behind schedule. This widget makes schedule slipping immediately visible, enabling corrective actions. You would drive into our due task, assesses root causes were estimating wrong. Did dependencies change our resources are allocated, then task corrective actions, replanning, task tracking, or scope negotiations. No budgeting and cost management. Nifty has limited native cost tracking. You can add custom also for budget estimate and actual cost. Then build dashboard widget to sum these across tasks. But here the reality. For rigorous cost management, cost baseline, unvalue analysis, cost variance trending, you would like to integrate with financial systems or manipulating payroll costs in Excel. What Nifty does provide is task structure that maps your work breakdown structure, which is a foundation for cost aggregation. Each task is a cost count. You estimate and track costs at task level, then roll up the work packages like control accounts and total project cost. Let's talk about quality metric briefly. The quality principle from PMBOK 7 build quality into processes and deliverables, and PMBOK 8 treatment of quality as a behavior principle embedded through all domain means you should be measure quality continuously. In Nifty, you make quality related tasks, code review for module X, UAT for feature Y, design review checkpoints. As this task complete, you are executing quality control processes. You could even make a dashboard widget tracking defect density with bug tags versus tool completed task or work percentage, tasks that move from complete back into in progress. Now the uncertainty performance domain, risk management. PMBOK 7 emphasizes optimizing risk responses, balances threats and opportunities. PMBOK 8 maintain this as the risk performance domain with process for risk identification, analysis and response planning. Nifty does not have a native risk register, but you can create one using list and custom fields. For risk monitoring, you would create a dashboard widget pulling from your risk register board showing count of active risk by probability impact quadrant. This is a continuous risk monitoring, a core activity in the uncertainty performance domain. Activity logs in Nifty provides an audit trail. Who changed what, when. From a governance perspective, this is your change tracking mechanism. If a task status changes from in progress to complete, this activity logs record who made that changes and when. If a due date shifts, its log. This support accountability and enable root cause analysis when investigating schedule slippage or scope creep. Documents and less features in Nifty create a centralized repository for project artifacts, requirement documents, design test plans, meeting minutes. This replaces scatter email attachment and share drives, enabling a single source of truth. From the planning performance domain perspective, your project management plan components, scope baseline, schedule baseline, communication management plan should all be stored in Nifty documents, repository, versions, control, accessible to authorized stakeholders. Connecting this to the PM book at 6 principle, one principle is focus on value. In Nifty, this means your dashboard should not just track task completion, they should track value delivery, and you can custom metrics for business value realized. Dashboard widgets pulling this data keep the team focus on outcomes, not just outputs. Finally, continuous improvement. The measurement performance domain is not just tracking correct performance. It's about learning and adapting, and you can use Nifty dashboards historical data, if available, through custom tracking to identify trends. Thank you.
That concludes our deep evaluation of Nifty through the lens of PMBOK 7 performance domains and principles, with minor considerations of PMBOK 8's process-driven evolution. We appreciate your time. Thank you.